The desert sun had barely risen when Clara McKee stepped out of her small cabin on the edge of the Arizona frontier. The silence of dawn always felt like a blanket around her, one she clung to after losing her own child years ago. That loss had carved out a hollow ache inside her, a space she had learned to live with the same way one learns to walk with a limp. She had accepted that nothing could ever fill it. Until that morning, she was milking her lone surviving cow when she heard footsteps, hurried, uneven, desperate. Clara froze. Out here, unannounced footsteps rarely meant anything good. Her eyes shot toward the tree line, and that's when she saw him, a tall Apache warrior stumbling toward her yard, skin dusted with sand, blood dried on his arm, and a newborn baby tied to his chest with a woven cloth. Clara's heart jumped into her throat. The warrior tried to lift his hands in a gesture of peace, but exhaustion made him stagger. "Milk," he whispered, voice rough with thirst. "For the baby." Clara didn't move. Every story she'd ever heard about Apache warriors flashed in her mind: raids, ambushes, violence. And yet as she looked closer, she saw the truth. This man wasn't here to harm her. He was trembling, starving, and the baby's weak cry cut through the morning air like a plea from heaven. He fell to his knees. "Please," he whispered, lowering his head. "He has no mother." The wind carried the trembling vulnerability in his voice, and something in Clara cracked open. The baby's cries grew softer, weaker, the kind of cry that stops not because the child is calm, but because the child is losing strength. Clara knelt beside him. "Let me see him," she said. The warrior hesitated but slowly untied the cloth. The child, tiny, fragile, wrapped in buckskin, opened his tired eyes. Clara felt her breath hitch. A wave of something ancient and maternal rushed through her, so suddenly it nearly knocked her back. "What happened?" she asked quietly. The warrior swallowed hard. "His mother died last night. I rode all night to find help." Clara looked at him, really looked. His grief sat heavy in his eyes, but beneath it was something else, fear of losing the last piece of the woman he loved. The baby whimpered again, and Clara felt her body move before her mind did. She lifted the child gently and held him against her chest. "He needs milk," she whispered. "Real milk. And I can still give it." The warrior's eyes widened, the weight of hope hitting him like a wave. Clara carried the child inside as the warrior watched, breath shaking. For the first time in months, maybe years, the hollow space inside Clara flickered with life. She didn't know his name. She didn't know his tribe. She didn't know if danger followed him. But she knew one thing. This baby had just become hers. The baby fed as if he had been waiting his whole life for that moment. His tiny fingers gripped Clara's dress, and with every swallow, Clara felt tears blur her eyes. She hadn't held a child like this since her own son had died in her arms years ago. She thought she would never feel this again, never want to. But as the baby breathed against her skin, warmth spread through her chest like a sunrise after a long winter. The Apache warrior stood near the doorway, shoulders slumped, hands open at his sides, as if afraid any movement might disrupt the fragile miracle unfolding before him. "Thank you," he whispered. "You saved him." Clara sighed shakily. "What's his name?" The warrior stepped closer. "Tama." She repeated it softly, letting the name settle in her mouth. "Tama." The warrior nodded. "Thunder." Clara brushed a hand across the baby's small head. "He doesn't feel like thunder right now," she murmured with a watery smile. The warrior's expression softened in a way that surprised her, gentle, almost boyish beneath the hardened exterior. "He will," he said. "When he is strong." Hours passed. Clara fed him, washed him, wrapped him in warm blankets. The warrior finally sank onto a chair, exhaustion overtaking him. When he slept, Clara studied him, not with fear but curiosity. He was younger than she expected. Strong, yes, but his face carried grief so deep it seemed carved into him. A wedding band made of braided leather sat around his wrist, a detail she didn't miss. He woke to the sound of Tama's soft coos. Clara lifted the baby toward him. "He wants his father." But the warrior shook his head slowly. "No, he needs his mother more." Clara felt her throat tighten. "You should hold him," she insisted. "I don't know how," he admitted, his voice cracking. She always did." Clara stood, walked to him, and gently placed Tama into his arms. His hands shook. He held the child stiffly at first, terrified of breaking him. But as Tama yawned and curled against his chest, something in him melted. His shoulders relaxed, his jaw unclenched. He exhaled a long, trembling breath. Clara felt the air between them shift. Two people, broken in different ways, bound now by the tiny life they were trying to save. "You never told me your name," she said softly. "Taji," he replied. "It means, one who endures." Clara nodded. "Seems fitting." As evening settled, Taji insisted he would leave in the morning. "My people need me," he said. "But Tama, he needs you." Clara's heart thudded. "Are you saying, you're leaving him with me?" Taji lowered his gaze. "If you will take him, he would live. With me, he may not." The words hung in the air, heavy and impossible. Clara looked down at Tama, the baby who had already begun stitching together the torn pieces of her heart. For the first time in years, she felt chosen again. Dawn crept across the desert in shades of gold and rose when Taji prepared to leave. He stood outside Clara's cabin, adjusting the leather straps on his horse. Tama slept inside, breathing softly, wrapped in Clara's shawl. The decision weighed on all of them, heavier than the mountains in the distance. Clara stepped out quietly. "You don't have to go," she said. Taji shook his head. "My people are waiting. They think I am dead, or that I failed. I must return." Clara swallowed. "He'll miss you." "I will miss him more," Taji whispered. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Clara asked what had haunted her all night. "Why did you trust me? You didn't know me." Taji looked at her as if the answer were obvious. "You are a mother." Those words pierced deeper than he knew. She dropped her gaze, fingers twisting nervously. "Taji, I need to tell you something. I wasn't feeding him because I had a baby recently. My son, he died years ago. But I didn't know my body still," her voice cracked. "I didn't know I still could." Taji stepped closer, lowering his voice. "A mother's body remembers even when her heart tries to forget." Clara's breath hitched. "You think you saved Tama," he continued softly. "But he saved you too." When he looked at her next, something had changed. Respect, gratitude, and something unspoken neither dared to name. Clara hesitated. "If you want, you can come back for him." Taji shook his head again, but not with certainty. More like a man torn in half. "I don't know if I will return alive." Clara stepped closer. "Then promise me one thing. If you live, come see him. Even once." Taji studied her face, searching for something: fear, distrust, selfishness. He found none. "I promise," he said. He mounted his horse, but before riding off, he paused. "Clara." "Yes. Tama will know you as mother." His voice softened. "But if fate is kind, maybe one day he will know me too." Clara's eyes filled. "I'll tell him his father was brave." Taji nodded once, sharply, as if sealing an oath with the rising sun. Then he turned his horse and rode across the desert, the wind carrying his figure farther and farther until he disappeared into the horizon. Clara stood alone, heart trembling, not with fear, but with new purpose. She walked back inside where Tama lay sleeping peacefully. When she lifted him into her arms, the world felt less empty, less cruel. She kissed his forehead. "I'm your mother now," she whispered. "And I will love you enough for both of us." The door creaked as the wind pushed it gently, like a blessing. Clara rocked the child softly, her voice steady. Somewhere out there, Taji rode toward danger, but Tama was safe. And for the first time in years, Clara felt like God had returned something the world had taken away. Tama's fingers curled around hers. A bond forged in desperation. Had become a family born of fate.